What's cooking, good looking? In today's video, butter chicken. Barbecued on my smoker because why not? Hello, I'm Tyrone. Like your shoelaces, you tie your own. And the first step of barbecued butter chicken is to make a marinade. You don't need to barbecue the chicken, but I like the additional flavour that it adds. You can see in the video here all of the ingredients that I'm using for this marinade. When I found this recipe the first time, it had fenugreek, and I couldn't find fenugreek anywhere around Hobart. So I added mustard and maple syrup, which is apparently what fenugreek tastes like, and that flavour just stuck. I've used it ever since. Once the chicken is all marinating in that marinade, making a tomato base for the sauce for that marinade to eventually go in. What I like to do is essentially make a tomato soup. I do this by halving a bunch of tomatoes, sprinkling some pretty cool spices over the top: fenugreek, blade mace, brown cardamom, and long peppers, and then baking that in the oven for about 40 minutes. It's just enough to give it a little bit of texture. This oven is at about 180 degrees Celsius. After it has baked successfully, into a blender to mix that to as thin consistency as possible. This took several blends to get all of it through, then sifting through a sieve just to get rid of all of the skin and to make it as smooth as I could. Through one of the blendings, I'd put some onions as well. So, dicing the onions to be quite fine before browning them, making them nice and translucent and then brown on the stove. When you slice onions, make sure that your fingers are behind the knife so that even if it were to slip, you wouldn't destroy your fingers and cut them. Also, how cool is that chopping board? As the onions cook, I like to add a few spices to them just to enhance the flavour. Paprika is a good one, as is garlic powder. Drizzling over the top all of the olive oil and then mixing that through. That gets thrown in with some of the baked tomatoes and blended so that it can go into that tomato base as well. Another thing to add to this sauce is peanut butter. The original recipe that I found had cashew paste, but I haven't been able to find that anywhere, and peanut butter is just as good. The next day, as this video title suggests, it's barbecued butter chicken. So I am smoking these chicken breasts on my barbecue. I got this roaring up to about 180 degrees Celsius, then took the chicken out of the fridge, dipped it in that tomato stuff to wash the marinade off it a little bit, and this is all ready to be smoked. Whatever leftover marinade there is also gets mixed in with that tomato base. These chickens, I've given a light coating in pepper, and then they've ended up in my smoker, which by this point had cooled down to 150 degrees Celsius, and that's the temperature I maintained for this cook. Close the lid. It's at this stage, if you don't want to do it that way, then you can easily sous vide some of the chicken. Take it from that marinade and put it in a Ziploc bag or a vacuum sealed bag. Sous vide it at about 65 degrees for a few hours, and then pour the sauce over it. But that's not what I'm doing today. About an hour into the cook, this chicken had reached a reasonable temperature, but wasn't cooked all the way through. So I removed any of the chicken broth that had come off it. You can see that I've got an airing tray in the bottom of a bain-marie container here, and I'm just scraping all of the excess marinade off it to then put these chicken breasts back in my smoker to reach the desired 73 degrees. All of that came off the chicken and came out of the chicken got added to what was now 2 stock pots worth of sauce. Then, as I put the chicken back on, each of them had a nice globule of butter on top. And they were left to reach the desired internal temperature. As they were about to reach the temperature that I was hoping for, I cooked some rice so that I could enjoy this immediately. About an hour afterwards, they had reached the 73 odd degrees that they need to get to kill any salmonella and be safe. So I put a piece on the freshly cooked rice and scooped the sauce over the top at a painfully slow rate because my ladle was in the dishwasher. The obligatory taste. Yummy. This is what it looks like cut open, and this is what it looks like eaten. I hope you've enjoyed this quick little video. Even without smoking, this is probably my favourite flavour combination for a butter chicken that I've ever made. And I've made many different kinds, but I keep coming back to this as my favourite. Oh yeah, and when you have leftovers, cut the chicken up, each breast into about 3, and then cut it in sauce, ready to be frozen for when you want a fresh microwave dinner. What an oxymoron.